Grief is one of the most human experiences we will ever face. It shakes us, it reshapes us, and it forces us to see life differently. And yet, when we find ourselves in the depths of grief, we often ask, what now? How do I carry this loss? How do I heal? Grief is both deeply human and profoundly mysterious. And some turn to science, looking for answers in psychology and neurology and evidence-based healing practices. Science helps us understand how loss affects our minds and our bodies. Others lean into something different, heart-centered practices that bring comfort and connection, whether this is through ritual, intuition, or a sense of meaning beyond what we can measure. Sometimes this approach helps us to grapple with the quests of grief, the questions that really may never have any answers. Are you able to draw strength from science and from a sense of meaning, legacy, or something greater than ourselves? Perhaps there's no single path, only what resonates with each of us. How do you find balance in your grief journey? I'm McRogers, grief therapist. Grief needs a revolution, so welcome to the Grievolution. In my last video, I spoke about my new understanding of the word healing, which I had previously despised. And I have now come to understand that healing indeed means balance. I'll cue up that video at the end of this one, so please have a watch. Grief is one of the hardest things we will ever face, and when it hits, we search for answers. Some of us look to science, psychology, the brain, research-backed healing tools, and others turn inwards, beginning to trust their intuition. Heart-centered practices become supportive spirituality. It's what people will call it. But what if grief isn't about choosing one or the other? What if healing is about balance? In this video, we'll explore how both science and the heart can guide us through grief, so that no matter what path you take, you will feel seen, supported, and understood. So let's begin diving into this. Science has given us incredible insights into grief. While grief can't be measured, we can now understand how loss affects our brain, our nervous system, and its response, and how mindfulness, movement, and social connection can help us process the pain. There's powerful research on the ways that grief changes our minds, our bodies, and even our ability to think clearly. These discoveries matter because they show us that grief is not just emotional, it's physical, it's mental, and it's deeply real. And yet, science doesn't always answer the bigger questions that grief brings us. For many, grief is more than just what the brain and body endure. It's also a journey of the heart. This is where our use of our intuition comes in. Heart-centered practices like creating rituals, spending time in nature, journaling, or simply being still, being present with our grief, can offer healing beyond what we can explain or measure. Some people find comfort in spirituality, feeling the presence of their loved one, sensing a connection to something greater than what can be measured. Others may not believe in a spiritual realm at all, yet can still find deep meaning in love and legacy and the unseen bonds that grief cannot break. Neither way is right or wrong. What matters is what brings you peace. So how do you bridge the two? Well, grief is both a science and a mystery. Some healing tools come from research in psychology, and others come from our hearts, from intuition, tradition, and personal experience. We get to assign value. And the balance between these two isn't about necessarily choosing one over the other. It's about finding what speaks to you. And that may change over time. So whether you find comfort in heart-centered practices, evidence-based methods, or a mix of both, please know that your grief is valid. Your journey is your own unique journey and that you are not alone in it. So please, I'd love to hear from you. What has helped you in your grief journey? Inspire us all. Do you find strength in heart-centered practices? or science-based approaches, or both? Have you found your mixture, your balance? Please let me know in the comments. Please know that I read all of the comments. And if this video has resonated with you, please share it with someone who might need to hear it today. And grief needs an open heart and an open mind. So as you find your own unique way with your grief, I send you kind thoughts, kind words, and a kind heart. Thank you and take good care.